I hear him. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Doo-doo, in the ghetto. You know what I'm talking about. In the ghetto. Ghetto life. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyways, y'all, what's up with it, y'all? It's Hot Boxing Minute, your favorite pharmaceutical engineer turned boxing analyst. Back at you with the uncut realness because apparently I'm one of the few that can deliver it with that uncut, raw, real, unbiased, truth, factual-based knowledge about the sport of boxing. We got a huge event this weekend, folks. Despite all the hoopla, hollering, and all the craziness going on, we're going to get the fight with Gervonta Tank Davis and Hector Luis Garcia. Unbelievable. What a crazy, insane past couple of weeks it's been. We just heard the news or saw Dana White smacking up his girlfriend. Gervonta Tank Davis got arrested and then released, and the bail was posted, and it was all kind of wildness outside the ring. But we're going to talk about this fight. We've got Hector Luis Garcia challenging Gervonta Tank Davis. They're going to be fighting out there this Saturday night, January 7th, at the Capital One Arena out there in Washington, D.C., and I'm excited about this fight. You know, Hector Luis Garcia is a very, very tough, interesting opponent. These Dominicans have been coming out of the woodworks. It's like you get these tough guys, and most of them are with Bob Santos, oddly enough. That's who corners your man there, Hector Luis Garcia. Bob Santos has Hector Luis Garcia, Alberto Puello, Carlos Adames. I'm not so sure if he has Edwin de los Santos, but he might. I'm not sure. But I do know he also helped corner David Morrell, the tough Cuban out there in Minnesota. So, you know, Bob Santos has been in the game for a long time. He studied under Joe Goosen. So he's been kind of active in the game since the 90s, and now he's just got champion after champion getting these upset wins. You know, Alberto Puello captured a title. Hector Luis Garcia recently beat Roger Gutierrez and captured a strap. Carlos Adames had that ridiculous knockout of Juan Macias Montiel. So Hector Luis Garcia, you know, I think he might, you know, kind of be underestimated by the casuals, but I think hardcore fans are really looking forward to this event. This was part of a supposed two-fight package for Gervonta Tank Davis. We know that Gervonta Davis was supposed to fight Hector Luis Garcia and then later on, April or May, possibly fight Ryan Garcia. But that remains to be seen. We know that Gervonta has got a court case in February. My man got all kind of stuff going on in his life. Shit. I hope he figures it out. We want to see the young man fight. He's very talented. He is they like to market him as a 3-division champion, but let's keep it a whole bean. 2 of them are Reggie belts, but he did have that belt he got off of Jose Pedraza back in 2017. And, you know, so that's Gervonta Tank Davis, Baltimore's finest. We already know about Gervonta Tank Davis, undefeated. He's 27-0, 25 knockouts. That gives him something like a 93% knockout to win ratio. You know what you're going to get with Gervonta Tank Davis. It's an event. When he fights, everybody pulls up. The rappers, the D-boys, the models. At the last fight, Madonna pulled up with her son. You know, and that was for the Rolly Romero fight. And so it's always a spectacle. One can arguably say that outside of Canelo Alvarez, as far as the contiguous United States is concerned in boxing, there is no bigger star than Gervonta Davis. He's good for the sport. You love him or hate him. He is a polarizing figure. And I think that just kind of comes along with the territory of being one of the biggest stars in the sport. You're going to polarize people, either love you or they hate you. You know, it is what it is, folks. Hector Luis Garcia. What can we say about Hector Luis Garcia? Hector Luis Garcia rose to the consciousness of boxing fans' minds when he beat Chris Colbert, Little B-Hop, in a shocking upset win. He came in as a late replacement for Roger Gutierrez in a title eliminator fight, and he was an 11-1 underdog, and he pretty much put the beats on Chris Colbert and effectively won by a wide. Actually, was it a stoppage? Hold on, it was a stoppage. It was, huh? No, it was a unanimous decision. He was beating the crap out of Chris Colbert. So, anyways, back on my thought. So, Hector Luis Garcia, the tough Dominican who trains under Bob Santos, first made waves. You see me getting my tongues twisted? This is what happens when I'm dehydrated and I get excited to talk about fighters. Y'all, my bad. Hold on. I haven't been drinking enough water lately. Oh, that's good. Oh. Dropping it to the ground, baby. So, Hector Luis Garcia, the tough Dominican, he trains under Bob Santos. He first made waves with boxing audiences when he beat Little B-Hop Chris Colbert. He came in as a late replacement for Roger Gutierrez, was an 11-1 underdog, and he put the beats on Chris Colbert. Shockingly, he dominated him. And that was pretty much what put him on the map for general boxing audiences. Now, he then went on after that to beat Roger Gutierrez and actually win the full-fledged WBA super featherweight strap. And if I'm not mistaken, who had the belt before him? I don't really know. I want to say it was vacated, but I can't speak on it. I should have done my research on that one. But anyways, he won the WBA super featherweight strap off Roger Gutierrez in a tough, tightly contested 12-round fight. He stuck behind his jab, put in a lot of work early, started to fade towards the second half of that fight with Roger Gutierrez, but luckily enough, had enough invested in those early rounds to win it on the cards against the judges. It was a unanimous decision win, thus making him the 130-pound WBA super featherweight champion. He is moving up in weight against Gervonta Tank Davis. They are fighting at, I believe, 135-pound lightweight catchweight, or not catchweight, 135 pounds. So Hector Luis Garcia is moving up in weight. His straps are not on the line. This is supposed to be a preparation for Gervonta to get ready for Ryan Garcia. We don't know if that fight ever gets off the ground. We're not really sure. Now, let's talk about stylistically what we got. We already know about Gervonta Tank Davis, folks. He will sit there and let you get your work off and analyze you, and he'll even eat some punches. He's a counter puncher, freakishly athletic, and once he has you mapped out, he's going to time something that's going to put you out. He's done it time and time again. He is an athletic phenom, and putting you to sleep is what Gervonta Tank Davis is trying to do. No doubt, he's going to try to put Hector Luis Garcia out on the canvas. So Hector Luis Garcia has a tall task in front of him. Tank Davis is a good boxer. You know, I think a lot of people underestimate Gervonta's boxing skills. We saw in his last fight with his last fight was Rolly Romero. Anyways, people underestimate just how good Gervonta Tank Davis' boxing skills are. We saw it on full display when he fought Isaac Cruz. He broke his hand and regardless still completed the fight and was very evasive, was fighting effectively off that back foot, and won a clear, decisive victory over Isaac Cruz. And that kind of showed the rest of the boxing world that he wasn't just a one-dimensional fighter that just kind of stands in front of you, eats shots, maps you out, and then knocks you out as soon as you start taking him for granted. You know, he did that crazy jumping knockout hook, gazelle hook to knock out Pedraza. We saw what he did against Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz repeatedly dropped that 1-2 combination. He caught him on that second right cross, and then Gervonta tucked under it, hit that uppercut, and the rest is meme history. It's viral all over the internet. Rest in peace to Leo Santa Cruz's chin that night because it was put out. That man was out like a light switch, but you know, Gervonta Tank Davis, will he have that same luck mapping on Hector Luis Garcia? Now, Hector Luis Garcia, he can't use the same approach with Tank Davis that he used against Chris Colbert. Against Chris Colbert, he stood there on Chris Colbert's chest and dogged it out inside the phone booth. But you definitely don't want to stand in the phone booth with a fighter that's shorter than you and has more power than you, especially one that's named Tank Davis. So that whole trying to dog out Tank Davis in the trenches inside the phone booth is not the game plan that's going to work for Hector Luis Garcia. No way. He is going to have to stay very technical behind his jab. That jab is very educated. He's also a southpaw. He's going to have to stay behind his jab. Now, the thing that makes it so tricky for Hector Luis Garcia is sometimes his rhythm on that jab can be a little bit predictable and his head stays on that center line. So hopefully Bob Santos and them at least kind of made some kind of adjustments to where Hector Luis Garcia works on getting his head off the center line and making the rhythm of his jab less predictable. Hector Luis Garcia is not one for a lot of lateral movement, and that can present problems against an athletic guy like Gervonta Tank Davis. So We've seen in past fights with Hector Luis Garcia. He likes to stay behind his jab, and he likes to back up in a linear motion. He'll move back and forth, but not really sideways. And when you move back and forth, somebody who's freakishly athletic, like Gervonta Tank Davis, can close that gap very, very fast. So Hector Luis Garcia better acquire the ability to move laterally, because if he just goes back and forth, Gervonta Tank Davis is going to do one of those crazy flying gazelle uppercuts or hooks and just put him out. It's just going to be that simple. And, Hector Luis Garcia is going to have to summon all of his Dominicano Island bachata merengue rhythm to change the rhythm. If Hector Luis Garcia can change the rhythm of his jabs and try his best to not stay so linear, he can win this on points. I don't know if he can put out Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis is very effective when he wants to be defensively sound and box. He can box. We saw that with Isaac Cruz. When the pressure's thick, he's not going to sit there and eat a bunch of punches like he did with, Leo Santa Cruz, because Hector Luis Garcia punches a little bit harder than Leo Santa Cruz. So the key for Hector Luis Garcia is the key for Hector Luis Garcia in this fight with Gervonta Tank Davis is to stay behind his jab and keep his head off the center line. But at the same time, as he uses his jab, he's going to have to change up his rhythm. He likes his jab, but sometimes his rhythm stays the same, and you can clock that and time that. And also, he has to stay off that center line, because if he stays just in front of Gervonta's freak show athleticism will close that gap, and he'll get slept. So a little bit of lateral movement will be of great benefit to Hector Luis Garcia in this fight with Tank Davis. Tank Davis is going to try to put him out. We already know. Tank Davis does not want to box you all 12 rounds. He'll he'll lose a couple rounds on the cards, clock you in, and try to put you out. He's a counterpuncher. I don't presume overnight all of a sudden Gervonta Davis is going to turn into a pressure fighter or get heavy on that front foot. Nah, him and Calvin Ford are smarter than that. So they'll come up with a good game plan. When push comes to shove, I am going to, as far as how I think this fight plays out, in all honesty, I am going to go with, I'm going to go with a late stoppage in favor of Tank Davis. I think Hector Luis Garcia is going to make it very interesting. And I think towards the later half of the fight, he's going to start to get tired. And it's when you get tired, you start making those mental lapses. I think Hector Luis Garcia is going to end up getting caught slipping. And Gervonta Davis is going to capitalize and put him out there sometime in the 9th or 10th round, possibly. Boxing community, how do you think this fight plays out between Hector Luis Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis? Let me know in the comments section. How does it play out? Oh, one more thing. Before you talk about your predictions, let me say this. For Gervonta Tank Davis, it's focus or fold time. We already know about the crazy stuff that's been going on in his life outside the ring. Will he take his pending court case and his recent arrest, and will it cause him to focus, and will he shine in the moment, or will he fold under the immense pressure? We know that Hector Luis Garcia is riding a wave of confidence. He's coming in with an amazing wave of confidence after his wins over Chris Colbert and Roger Gutierrez, and recently getting a WBA super featherweight strap. The question is, fold or focus time for Gervonta Tank Davis? What do you think happens? So, let me know in the comment section. Folks, hit that like button if you haven't already done so. I'm going to end the video here. This is Hot Boxing Minute, the future of boxing analysis on TikTok and YouTube, y'all. Peace.